Welcome back, everybody, to Fly the Coop. I am so honored to have John Smaby in the house today. Welcome, John.
Well, I'm happy to be here, Carrie Ann. What a beautiful setting.
Oh, I know. Thank you for making the drive out. I really appreciate it. John, you've got an amazing real estate story, and I am super excited to introduce everybody who we can get this out to John Smaby.
Okay, so I was, it's a 4-year term.
For National Association of REALTORS, everybody.
In 2017, I was first vice president, and you
Right.
are elected by about 900 directors.
Wow. 900 directors, my
900
God.
directors nationwide. And so I spent a year traveling around campaigning.
Yep, just like a
trying to get
president
people-
should.
Yeah. And then 18, you're a president-elect, and then 19 president, then 20, I was immediate past president. So
Wow.
I'm,
Impressive.
I'm back in the put out to pasture now.
Really?
Yeah, I'm still involved as a past president. But,
Yeah. What does that mean for you now? Like, what does your travel schedule in 2023 look like?
it's as far as real estate goes, probably 3 or 4 different trips. But
Nice.
during those 4 years, I traveled over 200 days every year.
Oh my God. Did you like that?
And yes, you get used to it.
Yeah.
You know how to pack a good bag.
Yeah.
Minneapolis is easy.
Yeah, it is.
I live in South Minneapolis, about 10 minutes from the airport in a
That's
good day.
convenient.
And I flew nothing but Delta.
I love Delta.
So Delta being a hub here, I could didn't ever had my baggage lost. I carried on whenever I could. And I went through Atlanta Airport a lot. If you haven't been there, it's the world's largest airport, I think. And,
Yeah.
but it worked very well for me. I had one, I think, cancellation in 4 years.
Wow.
I was stuck
That's
in
impressive.
in Lexington, Kentucky. Easy for me to say.
Yeah. Well, so much bigger than that. You have been, as a realtor here in the state of Minnesota and with Edina Realty, it's been over almost 40 years, as what we talked about. Almost 40 years in this incredible business.
Absolutely.
And when I came back from Colorado, so I've been with Edina Realty, this will be my 23rd year, and John is the one that recruited me back into the current office I'm in, 50th and France. John was the acting president. Well, you are kind of the president of that office, the acting manager of that office.
I was the manager of that office. And Carrie Ann, when you came, you didn't give me a choice but to hire you.
Aw.
I was going to hire her in about 2 minutes. Took about 2 seconds to figure out that we needed you and you needed us. And it's been nothing but a great real estate marriage for a long time
It
now.
really has. And I feel so grateful to have met all of these incredible people in this office and in that community, because I was in a different office for 15 years. And in the real estate world, that is a story in itself, because when you're making that kind of transition, it is flying the coop. It's a major move. You're starting all over again, whether you move out of state or move into a different location in the city, regardless of what your book of business looks like, it is starting over. And John and that entire office welcomed me with open arms. And during a time when I was personally going through a lot of change, I went through a big divorce in that time, and John was an avid supporter. So recruiting and building an office, John, explain to people what that's like, because that is an incredible place to be. You're meeting a lot of amazing people.
Well, and for the management and working with a great company, first of all, with Edina. My dad was a realtor. And my dad was a national president in 1976. My dad
Followed in his footsteps.
at that time, I think, started in the 40s.
Wow.
Had a real estate company, sold it in the early 80s.
That's amazing.
Called John Smaby. But
I remember.
they have an old saying in real estate, as management side, it's recruit, develop, and retain.
Yeah.
And so I think you could, if you jumble them all up, you'd come up with culture.
Right.
The job
Absolutely.
is to build a great culture. If you have a great culture, it's like they talk about at the movie theaters, that silence thing there where they have you and, go get popcorn, go get pop, do this, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's true.
if you have a great culture, agents, when they talk to agents at other companies, they say, oh, well, hey, how is Smaby? If they say, oh, he's okay, boom, move on. If they say, hey, we got a great office.
Yeah.
Carrie Ann Carter's in her office. Yeah. Did you know that? She's the best.
That's really funny.
It's
and so many others, by the way.
Yeah, but it's
so many people. Yeah.
So that's what's important. So then all of a sudden you get a call and you say, you meet a person. And I've had people say, well, you don't need to. I know enough agents in your office. I know what it's like. Do you have space for me? And can we make this happen?
Right.
And so it's the greatest business in the world.
Yeah, it really is. It's an incredible opportunity. You got to be passionate, and you've got to be gritty, and you've got to be able to work really hard, and you got to love this business of real estate. And if you love those 4 things, if you are all in, it's a beautiful life. It really is.
It's a perfect life, yes. In my
what a
opinion,
blessing for you.
It's been great for me. I was raised in the real estate business. My dad, I used to, again, this goes back. And for many, many years, we'd stop at phone booths for nickels, and he'd always have a big roll of nickels,
awesome.
and he'd make calls. But my dad,
like he would call his clients. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So we'd stop in the
That's
car,
awesome.
and he'd go out there and call clients, and I'd sit there. And of course, I wish I would have had a phone to play with. I'd sit there, and he'd be on the phone for half an hour, and
that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's my dad gave me when I got licensed, I think in 79.
79, everyone.
Yeah.
And
that's
my
a
God.
long time ago.
And it's changed so
much. But he
much.
sent me a note, and he said, I hope you love the greatest business in the world. If you love it, you will be successful. And the true measure of your success will be how much you give back.
Right.
To the greatest business in the world. And so that's something that I've lived with my whole life. I had a great mentor and many other great mentors throughout my career.
Yeah. Well, it's just amazing. And you're still a big part of the ecosystem in our office. You're still very much a part of that. Growing up really in Edina and being a big piece of that community, you do a lot of giving back within the community.
I grew up in South Minneapolis, and I live in Edina, just a block from Minneapolis. So I'm kind of really a South Minneapolis Edina guy. But giving back wasn't an option in my family.
Right.
You did everything you could to help others, and so it was inbred into our whole family, and so important. And I want to make sure I pass it on. And I've been lucky enough to have opportunities to give back to the real estate business.
Yeah. So your partnership with Edina Realty, dating back to the 70s, contribution in this business when we're all really a team of entrepreneurs, give us an example of some of the things you love and cherish so much when it comes to the giving back and the participation as a volunteer.
Well, as a volunteer, it's great to see the smile on the faces of people that you work with, whether that be at a food shelf.
Yeah.
And you see people. One day I was in somewhere around the country, and it was a food shelf deal, and you see people coming through, and a woman had tears in her eyes as she picked up 2 crates of food.
Right.
If that doesn't make you want to go back and do it again,
I know
that's amazing. Whether it's you are as a kid putting flyers out in the neighborhood for something they're going to do at the school,
right?
And it passes, and they're able to do a new theater arts or new speech area at a school, any school district. That's important.
So much.
We had a friend that was a really good friend of the family that was a state representative.
Oh, wow.
And so we'd go and give, hand out flyers for him when he was running. But the great thing about that was, this was in the 60s.
Right. Wow.
We got to go afterwards. He took us to the only McDonald's at that time in the Minneapolis area.
That's amazing. Seriously.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
So that
how
was
fun.
my reward. I had a huge smile.
That's so great. That is just an amazing story. The evolution of this city, John, and this business both, in that time period, when you look at that bandwidth from the 70s to now, what are the biggest 3 takeaways in your mind in growth and change? In a good and bad way, both, and like progress in a positive way, because change is inevitable, right? It's part of growth. So,
Well, I'm a believer in progress. I think you can do progress smartly.
yeah.
Edina, half of Edina in the 70s was trees and ponds and lakes.
A lot of people don't know that.
And to see Eden Prairie, especially, this is now a big suburb, but just
Right.
watching that development. When I started in the business, if you sold a $100,000 house, that was a big house.
Yeah.
I think my
Wow.
first year, my average sale price was like $60,000.
That's amazing.
And in our office
Yeah,
right
that's
now,
amazing.
where you are, Carrie Ann, I suppose that average sale price is $400,000 to $500,000.
It is. Yep. It just shifted this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I hate to say pedestrian, but it used to be, oh boy, you have $1 million house. Now they're all over the place
I
throughout
know.
the metro.
Such a transition in such an incredible way when you look at what's, and this is not just in the Twin Cities, and you acting as the National Association of REALTORS for a year and really meeting these incredible real estate players all over the country. This replicates to every major metropolitan city and small community in the country, this growth model and the shift and changes in appreciation. Where do you see that going? Like, where's the capacity? Where does the stabilization come in? And how do you see balance?
Well, I don't know that we ever have balance.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
And it's growth is a process. In some times and periods of years, I think we see that it's maybe, depending on where you are, flat, trending down a little bit. But over time, real estate is the greatest investment in the world.
Absolutely. Always has been.
What I've seen and I think is exciting right now, I live in an area that's older homes, right by downtown Edina, 2 blocks away.
Yep. Great
My
area.
personal house is a tear down. And most of the houses on my block now have been torn down and new houses built in. And you can say, oh, well, I don't like the monster houses or whatever. But it's a way of, it's like planting trees.
Right.
After time, you see these houses grow and it becomes part of a neighborhood.
Right.
And that type of thing. So I've
That's a great
enjoyed
analogy.
seeing different parts of the city as they grow. And they have opportunities for people to take advantage of both commerce
Right.
and nature.
Yeah, agree. Absolutely agree. When you had the chance to work nationally, did you see a commonality when it do you see what's the fabric, like the commonality when you look? Because I would love to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah, it's real estate people are the same, whether they're in Hawaii, Alaska.
Yeah.
I visited all those places,
Yeah.
southern Florida, southern Texas,
Wow.
or the Northeast. They typically are great entrepreneurs. They're truly individuals. I think that's so important.
Yeah.
And they give back and they work their tails off.
Yeah, the workload is a real thing.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
and you see that, and they are they're willing to pitch in and help in so many different
That's
ways,
true.
and they don't know anything. To give back is just, again, like my family, part
Yeah.
of their nature. And
Right. Organic. I always say organic
Yeah.
in the makeup of the person.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you look at all of those people that you met and still meet today, I think you said you have 4 trips planned for the year that kind of trickle through the past of dealing and cultivating those relationships and being a participant, in whatever's going
Sure.
on in terms of discussion. Coming out of COVID, this is my question. Coming out of COVID, coming off these last 2 years of crazy real estate because of kind of that pent up demand. And now coming into 2023, which I'm super psyched about personally, because I feel like things are going to kind of have a little bit more of a stable, like, things aren't going to be so nuts like the multiple offers that were going on last year. How do you see that wave affecting the entire country right now in a good way?
Well, I think in a good way for the business is that it probably was overheated.
Oh, for sure.
And during those, let's call it 2.5 years of COVID, we probably were situations that didn't make sense.
For sure.
I think now that we're calming down, we can look back. We had maybe too many people get into the real estate business.
Totally agree.
And
didn't know
not that it's an open business, get in it, but maybe not always for the right reasons.
Correct.
And
That's
I think that now what we're going to see is it's the pros will survive. The people that put a lot into their craft, that do what you do, okay?
Yeah.
Is that not only in giving back, but you hire a coach and you work with a coach and you are constantly trying to learning new things and getting better. That's what I see coming out of this year is that those individuals will make a bigger difference in markets all across the country. Some will be hotter than others. That's just normal.
That's the case, yeah.
I think that demographically we hear that there's still a lot of demand out there. Interest rates are a little higher. When I started in the business, Carrie Ann, the interest rates were 18%.
I know. I remember that.
And what are they today? 7.5?
They're floating actually in the 6s right now.
6s,
It's not terrible at all. We were in 2005 and 6, locking it at 6, like that was a great thing. People loved that rate back in 2005.
I bought a house at, I think we paid it down, had the seller pay what they call points.
Right.
And 4 points approximately for 1%, paid 8 points. So if you bought a house for $60,000 or $50,000, 8 points would be $4,000. And back then, and so they paid that down 2 percentage points to 16%.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So I thought when interest rates went down to 12%, I thought we died and went to heaven. I called everybody I knew. I said, "You better refinance now." And the next year, everybody refinanced again at 8.
Right.
Everybody refinanced, that and next year
6.
after that 6.
Yeah.
And I think my last mortgage was at
2.5.
3.75. Yeah.
It's
3.5
crazy.
or something.
It really is remarkable, the life cycle of that.
Again, is that with any business or you have to have a long-term focus.
Right.
And I think my dad.
The long game.
My great mentor, he said, save your money. He said, if you save your money and you'll get through the tough times.
Right.
Every business has tough times.
Absolutely.
Not every team wins the Super Bowl every year. Although our Vikings have been pretty good this year, so
we could hope.
I'd like to see that. I don't know that that's going to happen, but it's been. But they're not great every year.
Right.
Real estate business is not great every year. General Mills doesn't have their best year every year.
Every year. Right.
So,
all companies are like that.
It's important to remember that.
Yeah, it is truly in the balance and the growth and the fact that when it comes to real estate, what people miss is life continues on. Regardless of what the rates are, regardless of the availability, if you're partnering with the right people and you're going through a major life change, you will get to the finish line and you'll figure it out. Life just keeps on keeping on. So people get all life was really, I will say, not easy, but a lot of people jumped into the pot of real estate thinking it was an easy go of it over the last couple of years, not really understanding the complexity and the knowledge need to really do this business well and really help people.
Sure.
Does this work just like in the volunteering component of what I completely agree with you, needs to be a general part of the fabric of your daily living? really understanding when it comes to any kind of real estate, whether it's residential, investment, cross-border moving, multi-ownership, where we've got clients that are owning multiple homes in multiple areas, investing. You can't be a novice in this work. You really got to understand the nuances, if you will, and the complexity of it. And there was way too many people. I think we had 4,000 ads to the state of Minnesota in just 1 year in 2022. And we felt it as a team, working with our clients and representing buyers. We really felt the lack of knowledge out there. So I'm looking forward to really being surrounded by people that understand how to help their clients in a meaningful way and not for the wrong reasons.
I think there's always a steady balance. You and I were brand new in the real estate business and didn't know much 23 years ago and over 40 years ago for me.
I know.
And so, but for the right people to come in.
Yeah, agree.
And have the right mindset that we can make sure that we train them the right way to do the business.
Right.
There's a balance there.
I'm excited about that. I just think that it's fascinating watching the historical shifts that have happened, which is one of the reasons I really was excited about interviewing you, because you've had such a broad range of experience in such a dynamic time in the world, and especially in this business. There's been so much change. Yeah. How did you even keep up with all of that? Like, how did that feel? When you look at where you started and what it looks like now, you must look back and say, wow, that happened fast.
Our world is, again, it's crazy, and you have to take a step back once in a while. As the president, we have 1.6 million realtors across the country.
Isn't that amazing?
And at times it feels that they want to go in 1.6 million different directions. I think one of the things that for the real estate people to remember out there, we've created and it's evolved a code of ethics.
Yes. Let's talk about that.
And
I love that.
That is that all realtors have to adhere to if they're a member of the National Association, which is we have a 3-way agreement. So we're a member of a local.
Yep.
I'm a member of the Minneapolis Area Association of Realtors. You are probably too.
Of course.
And then the Minnesota, then the National. So that creates a gold standard.
Yeah,
and
it does.
There are, if you don't live up to that, and you're not treating people fairly,
right? Absolutely.
You can ultimately, you could lose your license. You could be censured.
Yes.
And so it gives us that golden rule, I think, is something to talk about. That's just one arm of it.
Right.
We also represent people and help local, state, and national on a political front. That's a little tough today in today's world. But, the thing to remember is that we're the largest trade association in the world.
That's amazing. A lot of people don't realize that.
And we give our money to legislators, I'll say in the federal, local, and state, that are in, the real estate world, whether they're chair committee on a federal level that affects our business.
Right.
We give money equally to Republicans and Democrats.
It's fascinating.
And so that's, I think, is important. So we are really dedicated on helping build better communities.
Right. That is, at the end of the day, the whole point of this is about building better communities so everybody can live their life dream and have a home. That's really fundamentally what this is about.
Affordable housing is so important, and it's. I wish I could say that I had could wave a magic wand, but we keep working at that. Looking at loan programs that can help people get into the housing market and in an affordable way.
Right. That is a big issue during a time when the appreciation has been so great. And the affordable housing market, even for just all factions, like for everybody, we have 50% of our city. We were just talking about this week, is renting right now. look at what the rental costs look like. And then, of course, couple that in our city with a lack of housing in the first place. Right now, tell me if you have heard something else, but the numbers I see, we're 10 years out from having enough housing in the city to supply the need. That's the last number I saw.
And it's expensive to build right now.
So expensive.
And it's, you hear numbers, and I think, again, is that something in the neighborhood of 30% or more are on fees when you want to develop, whether it's lot fees and for builders. And that gets just, you know what happens with that? That makes the house price 30% more. So on a national level, what we try to do is let's make it realistic. Let's make sure these impact fees, they call them, aren't out of control.
It's really an interesting thing.
And let's make sure that the zoning is, we protect areas.
Right.
We also give opportunities for our cities to grow as they need there. So those are tough issues, tough problems, and we work hard. I know they work hard every day doing it. I got a call. I'm an early riser, which means I also go to bed early. But I was up at 5 this morning, and I get a call from the president of the National Association of REALTORS this year. His name is Kenny Parcell from outside of Provo, Utah.
I read about him.
And he doesn't sleep at all. And you know, he had a couple questions for me and about the market and where we're going and what we're doing and that kind of thing. So
well, that's necessary though, right? I mean, all of you great minds, the collaboration and the problem solving are critical as a group. Not one person can solve the problem ever for anything. That's not how it works. It's a collab. It's a collaboration. That's what I love about teams. That's what I love about our office. You know, I love that there's 100, 110 agents to be able to see, talk to, come together. We gather every week on Tuesdays. You remember the Tuesday meetings? You grab a coffee, you network with each other. There's nothing more valuable, which kind of circles back to Edina Realty and why I've always had, we've talked about this privately, the recruitment effort out there, both locally and nationally, and all the different players. And there's more and more and more coming in. Like everyone wants a piece of this pie that used to be fairly small, and now there's hundreds. What I've always loved about Edina Realty, John, is the collaboration. It truly is a family broker, and they work together. They're not working, they're working together with each other, not against each other. I love that.
And they have high ethical standards.
I agree.
And I think that's what I love about Edina Realty, and I've seen it started by a lady.
I know.
Emma Rovick.
It's a great story.
So she started in the 40s and 50s. It was really a trailblazer. And I think that's something that we can, when it wasn't common for women to be CEOs of a company, and her husband or her sons ended up, Roger and David took over. And
that's
they
amazing.
eventually sold to different people. Now we're owned by Berkshire Hathaway, which is Warren Buffett, who has been a person that's really made a difference in our world.
Yeah. I'm sure that would be a fun interview, wouldn't it?
If we could get him, that would be a very fun interview.
That would be so fun to pick his brain. Well, I'm curious, if you were to immerse yourself with managers today of offices, and you were to advise the new realtors that are coming into this business, making a go of it, what would be the piece of advice you'd give both of them?
Okay. So for managers, first thing I would say that you're a leader, not an administrator.
Right.
Okay.
That's good advice.
For the new agent coming in, again, is that I think the first thing you have to do is find a mentor.
Yeah.
And whether that you're working on a team, and you could maybe move on from that team, but find a mentor. You don't have to be part of a team.
Right.
You have to get to know your inventory
religiously.
And so know that if that this over here sells for X amount, over there sells for X amount.
Yeah.
A store and a half is X amount. You know, so you really need to know
inside and out. I agree with that.
And then education.
So important.
We have so many you can take it, you can sit in your bathrobe at home and take education at any time you want.
Right.
You can take it in person. You can watch podcasts.
Right.
Or listen to podcasts.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And there's so many different things. So get to know your market.
Right.
And take advantage of every opportunity to hone your craft.
I totally agree with that. And anyone who asks me, any realtor asks me from the very day, and I'm sure you were the same way, got into this business, the real estate and the knowledge you get from the MLS back in the day, it was the books. We didn't have an MLS. We had book.
Oh, we had an MLS. It was distributed to us weekly in books. And they were, back in the day, they were as big as phone books.
I know. I remember studying them.
People carry them around and you have them in your car.
In your car.
You get a weekly, they came out, I think every other week the book came out. We had
I remember the book.
What they used to call deck to writer. It had that printer paper with all the holes on the side of it. That would print up, and
it's crazy.
It was hard to find the new listings, and now we have lock boxes. Way back when they had keys, to property. So I learned over, and so you'd have to drive by and pick up keys, and I'm sorry, we don't have the keys. And your person doesn't back it with the keys. Well, if it was a hot property, you made sure you didn't get the keys back right away.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So you go sit outside the house. You just learn little things that you had to learn about the business.
Yeah, that's
and funny. Lock boxes, again, are still very secure, and they make it, we're a development that in our industry now those lock boxes are electronic.
Right.
And so you can see what time people entered. You can, there's
a security measure now that's different than it used to be. I mean, that's just a fact.
It's called evolution.
It's called evolution and growth.
Yep.
What I love about the MLS now, I love studying the MLS. And when you really love a business, you want to know about everything. You want to know about all price points, all areas. You want to be able to help everyone. Like everyone deserves to be in a home. And to be able to have that knowledge, it doesn't take long, take 15, 20 minutes over coffee in the morning, everyone. And you go in and you look at what's gone on in the last 24 hours.
Absolutely.
And there's nothing more valuable. Truly, it's invaluable.
But also get out there, get in your car.
Yeah.
Make some previews, make some appointments, preview as many as you can, get to know it. Then when you see people out and about, whether you're meeting some friends to watch a game or you're going out to dinner and people ask about, they always ask about real estate.
They always ask.
And you say, Carla was in this nice area, Grant, Minnesota. Yeah. Who knows where the heck Grant is, Minnesota is. And I'm here today, and my eyes are like, this is fabulous. 35 minutes, I'm looking at trees and a pond and deer tracks, and it's
amazing.
It's unbelievable. So, get to know the world of real estate.
That's how I feel. Like I've always, from very day one, I love this whole city. I literally could drive this entire city blindfolded. I love all of it. And there's so much beauty here, and there's so much opportunity for people. You just need to open your eyes and see it. It's right there for you.
Driving over here today, I felt that maybe you were driving blindfolded. There are a few people on the roads that were driving a little blindfolded today. Be careful out there, everyone.
Driving right now with this weather, let's just talk about that for just a minute, because I know we're blowing through our time fast here. But what's that look like? Do you and Linda's the wife, by the way, are you hardcore Minnesotans where you want to do the entire winter long term, or do you want to do, what's that look like? Are you going to do warm for a couple months? What are you going to do? What's your future?
We are, my wife Linda is a long-term realtor and very successful also. And
beautiful person.
And does a great job, and she's put up with me for over 40 years.
They're great.
That's
together.
even better. We are kind of still, we're not sure of, we're certainly going to spend some more time south.
Yeah.
I think we do like the Four Seasons. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here in Minnesota. Yeah. But my back was hurting a little more this morning after 4 days of
shoveling,
heavy snow, and even with a snowplow, it's a
workout.
Yeah. Linda has parents that are in great health, 93 and 89.
Wow.
And they live in
Amazing.
Bloomington. So, we want to be here for them.
Absolutely.
In the latter stages of their life. So we plan on sneaking out here or there. We have a beautiful cabin in northern Minnesota by Marcel, Minnesota, up north of Grand Rapids that we spend a lot of time in the summer.
Such a
Enjoy
beautiful
the
life.
mosquitoes.
I know. Hey, they're
little
great.
fishing and gardening and
It's beautiful.
doing everything you can do to a cabin.
It's a true Midwestern, story for sure. And John, you're 40% of the population in the country right now. Like that faction has such a dynamic opportunity to really carve out the ideal situation. And those from this part of the country really don't want to lose their footing in our state. Right. And there's a lot of people that are finding us very attractive where we used to be flyover country. We're very attractive because it's such a beautiful, beautiful life. It really is.
Well, I think I saw something, and this goes back a year or so ago, that Duluth, Minnesota, and that North Shore is one of the hottest areas in the country for the millennials.
I know.
So whether it's ice surfing, people go surfing on Lake Superior in the winter, wetsuits and everything, and ice climbing, and in the summer, and biking and snowshoeing and da-da-da-da-da. And people like that, even though Duluth
it's cold up there.
It's cold and windy.
Always
but
windy.
it's beautiful.
Stunning. So beautiful.
So there's lots of different, things change, and what we have here, a lot of water.
A lot of people don't know that. See here, what's the number again? I might switch this around. It's the 40-60 plan. So water to land. I just don't remember which one is the 40 and which one's the 60. I learned that a long time ago at an association, like it was a city conference on planning, state planning, and they were doing a 10-year, they do this all over the country, by the way. They kind of look at what's life look like here for the next 25 years and how are we designing and developing it, kind of like Edina. A lot of people don't know how wet at one time Edina was. A lot of that was filled in. It's a wetland area.
I don't know if a lot was filled in, but certainly there's some of that. But again, we have to be prudent with all of those. And that's why it's so important to, on a political, making sure that we, developers, and they communicate with their cities and their blocks and all that, making sure that we grow. I think we can't stay stagnant.
No.
But we grow, and we grow smartly.
Right. And there's a plan behind it. There has to be a plan.
Long-term plan behind that works. And it doesn't, I think to remember is that sometimes as we see growth, it doesn't always go the way we want it to go.
Yeah. No, it's true.
But if we plan well, and sustainability, is a big word now. And
it is.
So we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to for our future.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's brilliant. So if you have one piece of advice, John, for 2023 for the entire audience out there, what would it be?
Boy, tough. I'm just not one piece of advice, but you know what I would say is that work hard and have tons of fun doing it.
I agree. Life is short, everybody. That's great advice, John. You have been so delightful to talk to today. You and I never get a chance to do this. And I knew you'd be you're such a people guy, and you've always got great advice, and you're so laid back and have a great sense of humor. So I'm super excited to have a little time today with you.
Well, thank you. It was my pleasure to be with you in this great spot. And Carrie Ann, I'm very, very proud of the work that you've done and how much you give back to the greatest business in the world.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye.
Appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.